Hey friends, thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it. I hope you're having a good day. Welcome back to the Fan Friday series where you, the fan at home, get to answer some of my questions and I get to read your wonderful answers on camera and have a little bit of a discussion. I really like this series. I really like hearing what you guys have to say. I'm kind of an idiot. I've got some fancy equipment and I talk and I make videos on YouTube because I had nothing better to do. You guys leave some really insightful comments that are way more insightful than any knowledge that I could spread back to you. So if I can take your insightful comments and relay them to the rest of the world, I'll be happy to do that. And that's kind of what the series is about, where I take your answers and read them aloud. And in last week's video, at the end, I asked, which team is going to win the Stanley Cup and why? And you guys had some amazing answers. There are probably 45 answers I wanted to choose. I would love to choose them all and read them. It doesn't make sense. The video would be 50 minutes long or more. It doesn't make sense to do a video like that. So as I try and keep this short, I picked, I think 12 or 11 or 12 that were relatively short, some long, just a bit of a mix. And I tried to choose, like there were a lot of people said Pittsburgh, a lot of people said Tampa. And I really encourage you guys that to go, if you didn't see that video, go watch it. But more importantly, look at the comments in the video. There's some really, really insightful answers that aren't going to make it in this video, but deserve to be read. So please take a time and go look at those comments. People are really, really smart. So I'm going to read 11 or 12, like I said, in this. And then at the end of this video, I'll have a new question, which I will read those answers next Friday. So, all right, let's get this weekend going. Let's get this Fan Friday going and read your answers to who's going to win the Stanley Cup and why. All right, first person, Adam Walker says, Detroit do a St. Louis and go from blast to winning it all. Let's go Red Wings. Adam, my friend, that is a bold statement. I don't think this is going to happen. As I'm filming this, I believe Detroit has like 28 points or something, a minus 90 goal differential or something ridiculous. As amazing as it would be, and it would be amazing, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't even know if it's mathematically possible. They would almost have to go on like a 25-game winning streak or something ridiculous and still probably not have enough points to make the playoffs. They'd have to go. Oh, it would be just such a ridiculous streak that they'd have to go on. However, I like how bold you are with this answer. So good on you for having some balls. All right, next up, Terrell95 Secto says Penguins feel like a good pick with how well they've dealt with injury. It's a really good point. Tell me a team that's suffered more injuries than Pittsburgh and has remained competitive in the last 5 years. Go ahead. St. Louis, a couple years ago, or even recently, dealt with a lot of injuries and played very well, but not to the extent that Pittsburgh has this year. I cannot remember in recent memory a team that has suffered so many injuries to crucial players and still done so well. So even though this answer was really short and sweet, it makes perfect sense, and it's true. If the Penguins can win so consistently without some of their top guys, why can't they win it all? So I really like this answer. Next up, Remy says, me being biased would say Winnipeg. They're one of my two favorite teams, but if I had to pick realistically, I would choose Washington. They look like they're on a mission to win again, especially Ovi. There's two things I like about this comment. Number one, admits that he's a little bit biased and he wants to choose Winnipeg because that's one of his favorite teams. But he's taking a step back. He's realizing, like realistically, even though Winnipeg's not my favorite team, or even though Winnipeg is my favorite team, they're probably not going to win it. So realistically, I need to think logically and pick a team who probably will win it or could win it, and he picks Washington. So the fact that you did that, the fact that you stepped back and took a more realistic approach to it, I really appreciate that. I really like fans who can remove the little bit of a biased opinion of their own team and kind of think logically about the whole big picture. And I think you're right here with Washington. I mean, has there been a team that's been more consistent than the Washington Capitals in the past 15 years? Probably not. Pittsburgh's up there. St. Louis is up there. There's some other teams up there as well. But, I mean, Washington has just been so good. And this year, they look really good. And Ovi looks amazing. It's like he doesn't age. He's had gray hair for the last 14 years of his life. Doesn't matter. He's not getting any older. He plays as well as he did 14 years ago. So, totally right. I like this answer. Washington is a really good choice. Next up, Spencer Hash says, the Blues are going to win for a second year in a row. They are far and away the best team in that division. At this time, they are leading the Central Division by 10 points. They've only lost 10 of 48 games, and I don't think that there's anyone who can beat them in the playoffs. Now, just a little defense to Spencer here. He left this comment about a week ago. I think it even says about a week ago. So obviously the standings may have changed when I'm making this video. Maybe St. Louis isn't up by 10 points, or maybe things have changed. I don't know. I haven't really looked at the standings in detail. But he makes a good point, because the West in general is fairly weak compared to the East this year. If you look at the Pacific, I think that the top team, as I'm filming this, is Vancouver. And if you take Vancouver's points, which I think is 59, that's not even good enough. If Vancouver was in the East, they wouldn't even be in the playoffs. That's not even good enough to get a wild card spot. And they're the top of the Pacific. And then you look at St. Louis in the Central, and I mean, they've got a pretty significant lead on the majority of teams in the Central Division in the same division. So how could you not choose St. Louis to potentially win 2 years in a row? So Spencer, you could be right here. Next comment by Pakajulmu. Sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. Dallas Stars. They have the best goalies and defense in the league, and I believe that they will start scoring more and more goals as we get closer to the playoffs. I think they have all the weapons to win. I'd love to see Dallas win a cup. It's been so long since they did 1999. That's 21 years or whatever it is ago. So it's been a while for Dallas, and they've had a couple of runs kind of deep in the playoffs where you thought, man, can they do it? Can they actually get into that finals and maybe do some damage? But they just haven't been able to get there. They almost did it last year, but you're right. Their defense is awesome. They remind me of the Islanders of last year. To me, the Dallas Stars of this year are the Islanders of last year. But Dallas needs to figure out a way to get an early lead and protect it. They can't keep coming back in games. I don't remember the last time a team has come back this many times in a season than the Dallas Stars so far this season. It's crazy. Next up, Mika, my boy Mika says, my Philadelphia Flyers, of course. For real though, or for real answer though, I say the Washington Capitals. I feel that they were very disappointed at how the season ended. Sorry. I feel that they were very disappointed at how last season ended, and have a need to prove everyone that they can win the Stanley Cup again, and that the 2018 playoffs wasn't just an anomaly. I feel that they are the only team that's going to give Tampa a hard time in the playoffs. Plus the champs from the West. Came from the West last season, so this year it's the East. It is, yeah, you're right. I mean, sometimes things flop around a little bit, and the West wins, and then next year the East wins. So if we use that mentality, then the East has to win. So Tampa and Washington do have their history, and I'm not really sure who it favors going in if they had to play each other again. I believe that the Washington Capitals would give Tampa the best run at their money. I think Tampa really stacks up favorably against almost every single opponent in the East except Washington. I really think Washington can probably go toe-to-toe with them offensively, and I think they're probably the better defensive team as well. So I don't know. I think you're right. I think Washington is probably the only team that can give Tampa a run for their money. So there's almost no question that Washington's going deep. If they don't, it would be a huge upset, and people would be shocked. So let's see what happens. Okay, next comment. Shaq Slay says, I would love the Bruins to win the Cup this year, since I'm a huge fan. But if I'm being honest, the Penguins are going to win it. Without Crosby and some other guys, they did fantastic. And now with Crosby back, they're looking superior. But you never know with the hockey gods. Yes, we cannot predict what's going to happen, and sometimes the hockey gods surprise us. But again, I've already kind of discussed this, but I wanted to put this comment in here just to show how many people are making this point in the comments. And there are probably 8 or 9 other people who made the exact same point in the comments of how good Pittsburgh is, or how good they've done playing with injuries. So don't sleep on Pittsburgh. You can't sleep on Pittsburgh. With or without Sidney Crosby, with or without Gino, with or without whatever goalie of the week is playing well, whether it's Murray or Jari. Man, it's just a team that you just can't sleep on. Next up, Nihal 97 says, I think the Lightning will finally take home the cup. They were so frustrated last year, and I think Stamkos will do anything it takes for him to finally hold the Stanley Cup. They haven't been as good this year as compared to last year, so I think they are saving their energy, and they're going to light it up this playoffs. They can be a crazy team, but only when they really want to be. You're right. It's not about, if you look at this team on paper, it's probably the best team in the NHL. It's mental. It has to be. The system hasn't changed. The lineup hasn't changed that much. The coaching staff has not changed. Same goalie. Not enough has changed to warrant this drastic of change in standings for the majority of this year. Now, Tampa Bay has obviously come to life quite a bit, and they're near the top again. But it's got to be mental. So there's got to be that switch that they can all switch on. And when they switch that switch on, and I think maybe we're seeing that recently, Tampa could be unstoppable. Could be. Could, because there's Washington, because there's Pittsburgh, because there's some other teams that you never know, right? So anyways, regardless, good choice. Thomas says, from a neutral perspective, as a Brit, the Capitals are my pick for the Stanley Cup this year. The Caps seem to have the best overall package this year, although not much has really changed. They are the league leaders, although that doesn't count for much in the playoffs. But there's something about them this year that stands out for me to think that they're better than the Stanley Cup winning squad in 2017-18. And I think he's right here. The team that won in 2018, it was a really good team. Like a really good team. But there's just something about Washington this year that it's not different, but it feels like there's no pressure. Like before, when Washington would have all these great seasons, there was so much pressure on Ovi, on the team to go far. Like they would always lose to Pittsburgh, or they would lose to some silly team like Montreal or whatever. But this year, and there was some disappointment last year, obviously, but this year it feels like they're in control. It didn't really feel like they were in control last year for whatever reason, but this year it feels like they've got those reins tight and they've got control. So I'm deadly scared of Washington this year. I like Washington. I like Ovechkin. I'll be probably cheering for whatever team they face, because I don't really like repeat winners, even though it's been 2 years. I like to see new blood win the Stanley Cup, so I'll probably be cheering against Washington, depending on who they play. Crossbar Hockey says, I have a good feeling about the Islanders based off the standings and how they played in the postseason last year. I feel like they've gotten a lot better and will have a strong run. Islanders surprised a lot of people last year, and there was a lot of answers on this video last week mentioning the Islanders or picking the Islanders. So there's a lot of people out there who think that the Islanders might do it. For me personally, I don't know what it is about the Islanders, but I don't have a good feeling this year from them. I don't know if it's the switch in goaltending. I really thought that the Leonard Greiss package was it, the way to go. Now that's changed a little bit. I just don't get the same vibes from the team. So I hope they do well. I really like the Islanders. I hope they go far. I'd love it if they could win a Stanley Cup. But for whatever reason, I just don't have a good feeling about them this year. Hope I'm wrong. Last comment. Dat Guy says, I think probably Edmonton, because they have a wicked power play, and also their abilities on odd man rush is amazing. Their one downfall is Mike Smith, who seems to play the puck way too much. Absolutely agree. This is coming from a Flames fan, keep that in mind. Not saying I want them to win, but I think they will. The other team I'm picking is Nashville. The reason being is that they had an awesome playoff run a little while ago, or a little while back, and they weren't playing that much better than they are right now. That's my opinion. That's a really good point. If you remember when Nashville went to the finals, they didn't enter as a second seed team or a first seed team or a third seed team or a fourth seed team or a fifth seed team or sixth or seventh. They entered as the 8th seed team in the Western Conference. What'd they do? They swept Chicago. They went all the way to the finals, and all of a sudden Nashville's this powerhouse, even though they didn't really have that great of a season. Well, guess what? They're not really having that great of a season now either. They've got games in hand in front of every team around them, basically. It's not unrealistic to think that Nashville can't go on a little bit of a run and sneak into the playoffs, or maybe even climb back up, because that division in general is fairly weak. So it's not impossible for Nashville to sneak back in, and everyone knows now, if you get in the playoffs, you got a chance. And Nashville proved that 3 years ago, 4 years ago, whenever it was, and they can probably prove it again, just like most teams in the NHL. So even though Nashville might seem like a bit of a silly pick here, he's not wrong. Or was it he? That guy. He's not wrong. Nashville could, if they get in, because they have the lineup. Look at the team. They're so deep up the middle. Turris, Duchesne, these are big names up the middle. Johansson, these guys on paper, this is probably one of the deepest teams up the middle in the entire league. They're just not performing. They're underperforming. All three of them. The majority of the team is underperforming. So if they can perform and they can sneak in the playoffs, you very well could see Nashville go on a bit of a run. So even this answer is a little bit sneaky, but I like it, and that's why I included it. So thanks, guys, for contributing some of those answers. I really appreciate it. I have so much fun reading all of your answers. You guys are so smart and insightful, so thank you for leaving those. I really appreciate that. Now on to the question for next week. The last couple of them a little bit serious, so let's take a step back and have some more fun with this. You guys know I like jerseys. I've got all kinds of jerseys here next to me that I collect. I've got over 90 jerseys now, I think, in my collection. So let's talk a little bit about jerseys. So here's the question. What's the best NHL jersey of all time and why? Now, you don't have to show me a picture of it. You can link it if you'd like to in the comments, and it might get marked as spam, but I'll approve it in the comment dashboard. But feel free to just tell me what jersey specifically you think is the best. Maybe if it's the 94-95 Philadelphia Flyers jersey or something like that. Give me a year and give me a team, and I can look it up. And when I read your answers back next week and next Fans Friday, I'll try to include a specific picture of that jersey as well. So based on your answer, people can see what you're talking about the jersey, because I'll show it at the same time. So that's the plan. So let's just have some fun with this one and think hard about it. Don't be biased. Don't pick your favorite team. And if it is your favorite team, that's cool. But just really think about it. Really think about it. Is it that crazy Vancouver jersey with the V? Is it the Colorado Avalanche jersey that I like with that stupid C that everyone hates? Is it the Buffalo Banana Slug jersey? Get crazy with it. Actually really think about your favorite jersey of all time. I want to know your answers. I want to see how different everyone's answers are, because there's so many choices. At this point, there's hundreds and hundreds of choices. So please let me know your choice down below in the comment section, and I could possibly read it next week on camera. Thanks, guys, for contributing. Thanks for watching. If you're not subscribed, I hope you can hit the subscribe button down below. And also go check out my second channel, More Post to Post. I've got all kinds of content on there, and I'm uploading almost on a daily basis there too. So I hope you're having a good day, and I'll catch you later. Adios.